The galaxy had long whispered about humanity, often with derision and dismissal, as if Earth was some insignificant rock with primitive creatures unworthy of attention. And yet as fleets of the Zorvax Dominion crept closer to Sol, their commanders were unaware that the humans they mocked harbored strategies honed over millennia, a combination of instinct, innovation, and an unshakable will to survive. And it began with a series of reconnaissance missions that seemed trivial at first, with small skirmishes on the fringe colonies of the aliens interpreted as clumsy defense. Yet every move was calculated, every retreat a feint, designed to draw out the Dominion's forces into traps meticulously laid across orbital stations and asteroid belts where human engineers had secretly embedded adaptive turrets and cloaked mines that could reorient to intercept enemy vectors in ways no alien tactician had predicted. And Captain Elena Torres of the Starfleet Vanguard orchestrated these maneuvers with a precision that made her look almost prescient, her orders flowing across the comm channels calmly, almost conversationally, as if the destruction and chaos around her were merely chess pieces being moved on a board, while analysts aboard the command ship cross-referenced alien ship signatures against centuries of human data, revealing patterns of weakness and exploitable behavior that only a species intimately familiar with chaos and unpredictability could detect. And as the Dominion attempted their first full-scale engagement near the Orion Nebula, they were blindsided by a barrage of nanomissiles that adapted mid-flight, weaving between energy shields, destabilizing hull matrices, while human fighters emerged from warp shadows they had predicted would be the safest exit vectors, cutting off retreat and forcing the aliens into corridors of concentrated fire where every advantage was human-engineered. And on the ground, colonies thought insignificant became fortresses as human militias employed guerrilla tactics combined with advanced AI drones, camouflaged and silent until the moment of attack, and even the political leadership on Earth, working through interstellar treaties and alliances, had anticipated which neutral systems would be swayed or sabotaged to isolate the Dominion forces from supply chains, ensuring that by the time the main fleets confronted the humans in open space, they were already exhausted, fragmented, and misinformed, with their morale eroded by intercepted communications cleverly altered by human cryptographers who turned the aliens' own messages against them. And this was only the beginning, for humanity's war secrets were not limited to technology or strategy, but to an ethos of relentless adaptability, where every failure was studied, every victory dissected, and the human capacity for learning from catastrophe meant that with each encounter, the aliens found themselves outmaneuvered in ways that defied their numerical superiority. And in the command room of the Vanguard, Torres smiled as she watched enemy formations crumble, knowing that the galaxy had underestimated not just Earth's weapons, but the ingenuity, cunning, and unbreakable spirit of the species it had once deemed insignificant. And as the first Dominion ships exploded against gravitational traps set years in advance, the humans were already preparing for the next phase, a campaign designed not merely to repel the invaders, but to demonstrate to the galaxy, in brutal clarity, that no alien force could ever hope to defeat humanity when they were pushed to defend what they loved, what they had built, and the very essence of their survival instinct. And so began a war that would be recorded in galactic history not only for the unprecedented tactical brilliance of humans, but for the revelation that their secrets, combinations of psychological insight, technological mastery, and unyielding resolve, were far beyond what any adversary could anticipate. And as the Dominion fleets regrouped, shaking from unexpected losses and questioning every assumption about human capability, Torres issued her next command with the calm authority of someone who had seen the endgame while the enemy still believed they controlled the board. And that endgame was a reminder that while aliens might possess fleets, weapons, and numbers, humanity had something far more dangerous: the ability to learn, adapt, and strike with precision born from centuries of surviving in a universe that never once treated them as equals. As the Dominion scrambled to understand the extent of their losses, Earth's communications networks quietly relayed encrypted data to allied systems across the Outer Rim, revealing coordinated human efforts that spanned decades of preparation and secret observation of galactic powers. And Admiral Malik Raj, overseeing the multi-theater campaign from the orbital citadel above Mars, orchestrated the deployment of specialized strike fleets designed not for frontal assault but to manipulate enemy psychology, targeting command centers, supply convoys, and even civilian zones in neutral territories to create calculated panic, forcing alien commanders into reactive positions that humans had already predicted. While on the frontier planets, the human tactical corps utilized nanotechnology-infused armor that adapted in real time to alien energy weapons, allowing soldiers to advance under heavy fire, countering every pattern the Dominion believed they had mastered, and the aliens, relying on rigid hierarchies and predictable strategies, were slowly unraveling, as reconnaissance revealed that every human battalion was capable of autonomous decision-making, improvising tactics based on observed enemy behavior, turning each engagement into a cascade of confusion for invaders who had assumed humans would follow orders without deviation. And in one critical encounter near the Tau Ceti system, a fleet of humans executed a maneuver that had never been attempted before, simultaneously engaging 3 separate alien task forces while masking the movement of reserve units through cloaked wormhole technology developed in secrecy, forcing the Dominion to divide attention, expend resources, and expose weak points, while Terra's elite cybernetic operatives infiltrated alien command networks, subtly redirecting fleet movements, falsifying intelligence, and even causing internal disputes among species that had long considered themselves allies, further weakening the enemy from within. And yet the human leadership maintained strict discipline, ensuring that collateral damage was minimized, civilian populations were protected, and propaganda was carefully managed to keep allies confident while sapping the morale of invaders who began to fear that every choice they made was anticipated, manipulated, or exploited. And as Torres reviewed the battle simulations in real time, noting the precise timing of orbital bombardments synced with ground assaults on heavily fortified colonies, she realized that the true strength of humanity lay not merely in its weapons or ships, but in its relentless integration of every aspect of war, technology, psychology, logistics, and human intuition fused into a seamless system of adaptive response. And the aliens, for all their superior numbers, superior firepower, and centuries of strategic doctrine, were discovering a truth they could not escape. The humans they had dismissed as insignificant were not only capable of matching them at every level, but had the foresight to exploit every assumption, predict every mistake, and convert every setback into advantage. And as Dominion fleets were caught in gravitational traps, ambush corridors, and decoy engagements, the humans pressed their advantage without hesitation, demonstrating capacity for long-term planning that stretched across light years, where every engagement, every feint, and every strike was a thread in a larger tapestry of domination, culminating in the realization that the aliens' victories had been illusions, their calculations fatally flawed, and that humanity's war secrets, its understanding of adaptability, deception, resilience, and strategic patience, were not just superior, they were lethal. And as night fell over the scattered battlefields of the Orion Arm, the human forces consolidated, already preparing for the next phase of their campaign, a phase designed not merely to survive, but to ensure that the galaxy would never again underestimate the species that had mastered the art of war with a combination of intellect, courage, and an unbreakable will that no enemy, no matter how advanced, could ever hope to counter. The Dominion, now reeling from consecutive defeats that shattered their confidence, attempted to regroup and consolidate forces in the Zorvax core, believing that overwhelming numbers and raw firepower could finally crush humanity, yet every move they made had already been anticipated by the humans, who had spent decades studying alien psychology, command structures, and cultural tendencies. And as fleet formation converged near the dense nebulae of Lyra Prime, human strategists had set up invisible choke points using artificial gravitic distortions and phase energy barriers that rerouted entire squadrons into zones where interstellar mines, autonomous drones, and sniper satellites awaited, while human intelligence agents intercepted encrypted communications, sowing distrust and paranoia among Dominion officers, ensuring that any plan conceived in confidence would collapse before it could be executed. And on the planetary front, ground forces moved with a precision and coordination that was nearly surgical, combining mechanized units with elite infantry trained in adaptive combat protocols, AI-assisted targeting, and predictive maneuvers that allowed them to neutralize superior alien forces while sustaining minimal losses. And as the Dominion attempted a counteroffensive by deploying the Leviathan-class warships, massive vessels bristling with weapons designed to obliterate human defenses, they were lured into orbital traps that destabilized their propulsion cores, forcing ships to collide or retreat, leaving entire battle groups stranded and vulnerable, while deep cover operatives on neutral worlds triggered sabotage networks that cut off fuel lines, disabled command systems, and created false alerts, further fracturing cohesion. and the humans, guided by the combined expertise of military historians, engineers, and tacticians, exploited every weakness without hesitation, showing that the true power of their war secrets lay not in brute force alone, but in the integration of intelligence, anticipation, and flexibility. And Admiral Raj, observing from Mars, coordinated simultaneous strikes across 3 star systems, timing planetary orbital assault to coincide with fleet engagements, while simultaneously deploying cybernetic units to disable enemy communications, ensuring that no Dominion fleet could receive orders or coordinate effectively. And even the most advanced alien AI was confounded by the humans' ability to adapt algorithms in real time, counteracting predicted enemy patterns while maintaining offensive pressure. And as Captain Torres led a squadron through a field of collapsing asteroid stations designed to mimic a natural debris zone, she executed maneuvers so precise that every ship that survived would arrive in formation to deliver the decisive blow, a combination of speed, firepower, and psychological warfare that left the Dominion questioning every assumption about human capability, while in the background, the humans continued to train, innovate, and integrate new tactics, turning each engagement into a feedback loop of learning and refinement. And by the time the Dominion realized the full extent of their predicament, entire sectors were already under human control, with supply lines severed, morale shattered, and command fractured, proving beyond any doubt that no alien power, no matter how advanced or numerous, could withstand a species that had mastered the art of war not just through superior technology, but through the seamless fusion of intellect, strategy, adaptability, and an unyielding commitment to victory. And as the first lights of dawn illuminated the orbital citadels, the humans prepared to press the advantage further, their war secrets revealing that the galaxy had misjudged them at every turn, and that their enemies would never be able to win against a species that could learn, adapt, and strike with precision unmatched in the history of interstellar conflict. By the time the Dominion regrouped in the outer reaches of the Perseus Expanse, the humans had already turned every frontier system into a network of traps, forward operating bases, an intelligence outpost that allowed them to monitor enemy movements in real time. And as Admiral Raj coordinated attacks across light years, he leveraged predictive modeling that incorporated not just ship trajectories but the psychological tendencies of alien commanders, ensuring that every feint, diversion, and engagement worked to maximize confusion and disruption, while Captain Torres led a fleet through a dense asteroid cluster that served as both a natural barrier and a concealed launch platform for missile swarms capable of adapting to energy shields mid-flight. And simultaneously, Earth's scientific corps deployed the first phase of the Nova Net, an array of orbital energy relays that could intercept and redirect the Dominion's weapons with deadly precision, creating kill zones that made even the most advanced alien warships vulnerable. And on the planetary surface of Vega Prime, human ground forces executed synchronized assaults on fortified alien positions, employing holographic decoys, adaptive armor, and modular combat drones that could reconfigure mid-battle to counter unexpected threats, while covert operatives infiltrated enemy command centers, subtly manipulating data and causing internal disputes that forced alien officers to second-guess every decision. And as a Dominion attempted a massive counterstrike using warp-capable dreadnoughts, they were funneled into corridors where gravity wells, electromagnetic traps, and autonomous turret arrays ensured that ships were destroyed or captured without meaningful human casualties. And the psychological impact on alien crews was devastating, as even the most seasoned veterans began to recognize a pattern of human superiority that went beyond technology, encompassing strategy, foresight, and an unrelenting will to survive and dominate. And as the human fleets pressed deeper into Dominion territory, they demonstrated an uncanny ability to predict and counter every tactic, from formation shifts to energy weapon calibration, while simultaneously exploiting cultural misunderstandings among the alien species, turning interspecies mistrust into a strategic advantage. And at the command hub on Mars, Admiral Raj watched simulations showing Dominion fleets fragmenting under pressure, entire systems slipping from their control as humans continued to expand forward bases, deploy covert sabotage units, and maintain secure communication lines that were impenetrable to alien interception. And yet the humans did not stop with destruction, instead combining precise strikes with psychological warfare, propaganda, and strategic mercy, protecting civilians and neutral planets in ways that reinforce alliances and sow distrust among Dominion forces. And Captain Torres, coordinating a multi-pronged assault on the Orion Rift, ensure that every human maneuver was synchronized with orbital bombardments, cyber attacks, and infiltrations, creating a feedback loop of escalating pressure that left aliens scrambling for solutions that did not exist. And through it all, the humans revealed that their war secrets were not simply in superior weapons or numbers, but in their ability to integrate intellect, adaptability, technological innovation, psychological insight, and moral discipline into a single, unstoppable force, so that by the time the Dominion realized they were losing not just battles but the very war itself, it was already too late. And as the first Dominion planets fell under human control, entire alien civilizations were forced to acknowledge an inconvenient truth. Humanity had mastered war in ways that no species, no matter how advanced, could ever hope to match. And the revelation of their secrets would reverberate through the galaxy, forever altering the perception of a species that had once been dismissed, underestimated, and mocked, proving that no alien could ever win against humans who combined strategy, ingenuity, and the relentless will to survive with the courage to exploit every weakness in their opponents. And as dawn broke over the newly liberated systems, humanity prepared to deliver the next phase of their campaign, a demonstration of both power and precision that would leave the galaxy in awe and terror simultaneously. By the time the Dominion attempted to mount a final coordinated counteroffensive across the Zorvak's core, humanity had already anticipated their moves, turning every predicted route into a labyrinth of traps, decoys, and ambush points. And as Captain Elena Torres led a specialized strike fleet through the dense, ionized fields of the Perseus Rift, her ships moved with near-perfect synchronization, their cloaking systems, adaptive shields, and predictive targeting algorithms creating an almost invisible wall of lethal efficiency, while Earth's strategic command, operating from the orbital citadels above Mars and the Moon, coordinated cybernetic strikes that infiltrated enemy AI networks, subtly reprogramming missile trajectories, jamming communications, and even sowing discord among Dominion officers who began to question their own orders. And on the surface of key systems like Lyra Prime and Vega Minor, human ground forces executed multi-layered assaults combining mechanized infantry, modular combat drones, and holographic decoys that forced alien units to expend energy, ammunition, and morale without achieving any meaningful gains. And as the Dominion's dreadnoughts attempted to punch through the front lines, they were funneled into zones of concentrated fire where gravitational anomalies, orbital minefields, and energy redirection arrays turned their strength into vulnerability, while special operations teams infiltrated command centers to disable reactors, sabotage supply lines, and transmit falsified orders that caused catastrophic miscoordination across the fleet. And throughout all engagements, human leadership maintained strict discipline, ensuring minimal civilian casualties, reinforcing alliances with neutral species, and manipulating alien perception to create maximum psychological pressure, demonstrating a mastery of warfare that transcended brute force and relied equally on intellect, adaptability, and moral leverage. And as Admiral Malik Raj observed the unraveling Dominion formations in real time, he initiated simultaneous assaults on multiple critical nodes, creating cascading failures in energy distribution, shield networks, and propulsion systems that left entire alien task forces immobilized, while Captain Torres executed precision strikes on command vessels, targeting bridge cores, weapon arrays, and sensor systems to create complete tactical dominance. And even as Dominion fleets attempted desperate maneuvers to regroup, they found themselves funneled into zones where orbital weapons, nanotech swarms, and coordinated fighter squadrons overwhelmed every countermeasure, turning what had been calculated resistance into annihilation. And on neutral planets, humans continued to protect local populations, demonstrating an ethical command structure that contrasted sharply with the Dominion's brutality, reinforcing humanity's reputation not just as an unstoppable military power but as a species with the intelligence, foresight, and discipline to execute total war without descending into chaos. And as the final Dominion bastions in the Perseus Expanse were encircled, cut off from reinforcements, and systematically neutralized through a combination of orbital bombardments, cyber infiltration, and ground offensives, it became clear that no alien could ever win against humans who had mastered the integration of strategy, technology, psychology, and morality into a single, coherent system of war. And as the last signals from Dominion command flickered and died, humanity stood ready not merely as victors, but as a force whose secrets, patience, and brilliance have forever rewritten the rules of galactic conflict, proving that any species foolish enough to underestimate them will be crushed not just by weapons, but by the inescapable logic, adaptability, and relentless will of a civilization that had prepared, learned, and evolved to be undefeatable. As the remnants of the Dominion fled toward the uncharted regions of the galaxy, believing that distance might offer safety, humanity's fleets advanced with relentless precision, their movements coordinated across light years with a synchronization that no alien mind could hope to predict, and Captain Torres, now commanding combined strike force of Vanguard-class cruisers, stealth frigates, and orbital bombardment platforms, initiated the final phase of the campaign, employing gravitational distorters, cloaked missile swarms, and AI-driven fighter wings and maneuvers that transformed every spatial advantage the aliens had relied upon into a trap of their own making, while on planetary surfaces, human contingents neutralized remaining garrisons with surgical strikes, utilizing adaptive combat drones, modular exosuits, and hyper-advanced targeting systems that rendered even the most fortified bases obsolete. And as Dominion fleets attempted to regroup around the Cenarius Cluster, human intelligence operatives intercepted communications and reprogrammed navigation and targeting data, causing ships to collide, drift into hazards, or engage one another by accident, while psychological operations broadcast carefully curated messages designed to amplify panic and mistrust among alien commanders, fracturing cohesion at every level and on multiple fronts. Human diplomacy worked alongside military precision, securing the allegiance of neutral species who had witnessed humanity's discipline, strategic brilliance, and moral control, ensuring that the Dominion could not exploit even a single external alliance to recover, and as Torres executed complex orbital maneuver to encircle the last major fleet, gravitational anomalies created by humanity's artificial satellite arrays forced the alien ships into predictable corridors, where concentrated firepower from orbital platforms, fighter wings, and missile barrages decimated every vessel attempting escape, while Admiral Malik Raj coordinated the integration of ground, orbital, and cybernetic attacks, ensuring that no element of the enemy's defense could operate in isolation, and as Dominion leaders realized the full scale of their defeat, they faced the unthinkable. Humanity had not only destroyed their fleets but anticipated every contingency, turned their strengths into liabilities, and exploited their every weakness without mercy, and yet even in victory, humans displayed control, evacuating civilians, preserving infrastructure where possible, and using the lessons learned to prepare defenses for any future conflict, demonstrating that their war secrets were not simply about destruction but about mastery of war as an art form combining intellect, adaptability, technology, psychological insight, and moral discipline. And as the last Dominion Command vessels were captured or destroyed in the Cenarius Cluster, the surviving alien commanders were left with no choice but to acknowledge a truth they had long denied. No species could hope to defeat humans when they were fully prepared, fully united, and operating with the combined power of centuries of learning, foresight, and relentless strategic innovation. And as the dust of the final battle settled across space and liberated planets, humanity stood as the undisputed masters of the war, their secrets revealed, their supremacy undeniable, and the galaxy forever changed by a species whose cunning, resilience, and unwavering will ensure that no alien could ever hope to win against them, a lesson written not just in victory but in the precise, unassailable execution of every plan, every engagement, and every decisive strike that had brought the Dominion to its knees. With the last of the Dominion fleet shattered and their command structures in ruins, humanity transitioned from relentless offense to strategic consolidation, establishing control over liberated systems while simultaneously demonstrating a measured restraint that further solidified their reputation as a species of unmatched discipline and intelligence. And as Captain Elena Torres oversaw the occupation of critical orbital stations and planetary defenses, she coordinated efforts to restore infrastructure, secure supply chains, and integrate allied species into governance structures, ensuring that the galaxy would not only recognize humanity's military supremacy but also respect its capacity for leadership, while on multiple fronts, human engineers dismantled alien weapons arrays, reproposed derelict ships, and deployed adaptive defensive systems that could anticipate threats decades into the future, creating a network of unbreachable security and unmatched technological dominance. And the surviving Dominion commanders, forced into isolated enclaves and desperate negotiations, were confronted with the inescapable reality that every miscalculation, every underestimation, and every assumption about human inferiority had been exploited with relentless precision as humanity's war secrets, combining adaptive technology, predictive strategy, psychological mastery, and unparalleled resilience, had turned potential defeat into absolute triumph, and across the galaxy, neutral. Civilizations that had watched from the sidelines began to rule on alliances, recognizing that humans were now the standard against which all other species would be measured, and that their capability to plan, learn, and execute over interstellar distances with flawless coordination was a force no adversary could withstand, while historians, diplomats, and scientists on Earth documented the victories, not as mere conquest, but as lessons in strategy, ingenuity, and the integration of intellect and morality into warfare. And as Torres and Raj convened a council of human and allied leaders aboard the rebuilt Sol Command Station, they reviewed simulations demonstrating how humanity had anticipated every enemy maneuver, turned every strength against them, and executed every strike with exacting precision, proving beyond any doubt that the war had been won not just through firepower, but through a species' mastery of itself and its environment, and as the first waves of human-led reconstruction fleets deployed across the liberated worlds, it became evident that the galaxy had undergone an irreversible transformation. For the revelation of humanity's war secrets, the capacity to adapt, learn, and dominate through a seamless integration of strategy, technology, and unbreakable will, ensured that no alien force could ever hope to rise against them again, and in the silence following the final battles, as stars reflected off the hulls of victorious human fleets and liberated planets flourished under new governance. The species that had once been dismissed, mocked, and underestimated stood as a testament to the ultimate lesson of war, that the combination of intellect, resilience, foresight, and unwavering determination was an unstoppable force, and that humanity, in revealing its secrets and executing its mastery, had permanently rewritten the rules of the galaxy, leaving no question that no alien could ever win against them.